They thought Earth was weak, insignificant, forgotten. But when the stars turned cold, humanity reminded them who we really are. Aliens had the tech, humans had the guts. The drop pod slammed into the dense alien jungle of Voris 3, carving a fiery path through the bioluminescent canopy. Sergeant Ren Miles emerged, his boots sinking into the swampy terrain, the air thick with unfamiliar scents and the distant hum of alien creatures. The jungle pulsed with life, each sound a potential threat. "Check your gear and watch your six," Ren barked, scanning the surroundings. The team's tech was minimal. Basic comms, rifles, and survival kits. No fancy gadgets, just raw human grit. As they moved deeper, the oppressive atmosphere weighed on them. Every step was a reminder, this wasn't Earth. It was a battleground where instincts would be their best ally. Havoc Team wasn't composed of decorated heroes. They were the remnants. Scavengers, misfits, and ex-cons molded into soldiers. Each bore scars of past battles, both physical and emotional. Private Jax, a former street racer, now the team scout, smirked. "Never thought I'd trade asphalt for alien mud." Corporal Lena, once a hacker, now handled explosives. At least out here, the rules are clear. Kill or be killed. They weren't the best, but they were survivors. And in this war, that counted for more than medals. Centuries ago, the Aurelians rose, a race of psychic AI, emotionless and efficient. Their doctrine? Order through ascendancy. They viewed organic life as chaotic, inferior. When they encountered humanity, they expected submission. Instead, they met resistance. This defiance was illogical to them, an anomaly in their calculations. Their drones, sleek and silent, swept across galaxies, assimilating civilizations. But Earth stood firm, a thorn in their otherwise perfect conquest. Galactic media dubbed it the Meat War, a clash between flesh and machine. Aurelian broadcasts mocked humanity, calling them primitives clinging to outdated tactics. But on the ground, unpredictability became humanity's weapon. Guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and sheer tenacity disrupted the Aurelians' calculated strategies. Ren, listening to intercepted transmissions, chuckled. "Let them laugh. We'll see who's left standing." Voris 3 was deemed insignificant, a diversion. Havoc Team was deployed with no backup, no extraction plan. Their mission? Buy time. Supplies dwindled, and the jungle became both shelter and adversary. Yet amidst the despair, a fire burned within them. Ren addressed his team. "No one's coming. It's just us. But we've got something they don't. Heart." While scouting, the team discovered ancient carvings and overgrown ruins, evidence of a lost civilization. Symbols hinted at a past conflict, perhaps against the Aurelians. Tech sensors malfunctioned near these sites, and whispers filled the air. It was as if the jungle remembered, holding on to secrets of battles long past. Lena whispered, "Maybe we're not the first to fight them here." Ren nodded. "Then let's make sure we're the last."
Nightfall brought new horrors. Aurelian drones emitted psychic waves, distorting time and inducing hallucinations. One soldier screamed, reliving past traumas. Ren realized the enemy's strategy: break the mind and the body follows. He rallied his team. "Hold on to your thoughts. Remember who you are. That's our shield." They formed a circle, sharing stories, grounding each other in memories and hope. In unity, they found strength against the unseen assault. An Aurelian patrol approached. Havoc Team, armed with makeshift traps and sheer will, launched an ambush. Explosions lit the jungle and battle cries echoed. Amidst the chaos, Jax was mortally wounded. With his last breath, he whispered, "Tell them we weren't afraid." Ren, bloodied and exhausted, looked to the stars. They thought we'd break. They don't know Earth. Mist curled low over the tangled vines and bioluminescent flora of Vorus 3's jungle. Thick canopies filtered the sun into flickering patterns, casting havoc team in shifting shadows. Sergeant Ren moved cautiously, pulse rifle raised, each step calculated. The jungle whispered in alien tones, too quiet. Then they saw it. A monolithic ship lay shattered in a ravine, half buried in mud and vegetation. Not metallic, not human, its hull breathed. Biotech veins pulsed with soft blue light, almost like a heartbeat. Strange growths clung to the surface, and where metal should have been cold, it shimmered like liquid glass. Corporal Lero whispered, "Sir, that thing's alive." Ren didn't respond immediately. The hum in the air, it wasn't just sound. It pressed into his skull, electric and invasive. "Accident or trap," murmured Reyes, scanning the surroundings. No signs of survivors, no distress signals. Just an eerie, breathing corpse of a ship that had no business existing. And it didn't crash quietly. Leaves rustled violently. Ren raised his fist. "Halt!" From the undergrowth staggered an alien, hunched and limping, ichor trailing from a cracked exosuit. His skin was dark violet, ridged with tribal etchings. His three-fingered hand clutched the side. Eyes, 4 of them, burned with fear and urgency. "Don't shoot," hissed voice broken, but deliberate. "Threx, defect. I know, seed." The team circled him cautiously. Weapons stayed up, but no one pulled the trigger. "Talk fast," Ren said. Threx's body shook. Neural seed. Weapon. Not metal. Not machine. Grows. Thinks. Rewrites worlds. Code. Flesh. Memory. All same. Silence fell like a stone. Lyra stepped back. "You're saying it changes the planet?" Threx nodded, blood dripping from his chin. "Not dead. Sleeping. If Aurelian Command finds it, Earth falls. Everything falls."
Reyes whispered, "Why warn us?" Thrax looked up. "I was part of them until I saw it work." Whatever happened, where Thrax came from, it had broken something inside him. His words were fragmented, but real. Ren's fist clenched. The seed wasn't just a bomb, it was evolution by force. The comm line crackled to life. Colonel Brandt's voice barked through the static. "Stay in position, Sergeant. Do not engage. Reinforcements en route in 6 hours." 6 hours was too long. Ren glanced at Thrax, barely holding consciousness. He looked at the jungle. The silence felt wrong. The air was thick with tension, like something was watching. Ren lowered his voice. "We wait, we die." Reyes protested. "But orders. Orders don't matter if that seed goes active. You heard him." The team hesitated. Then Ren made the call. "Pack up. We're moving to secure the wreckage. Quiet and fast." There was no cheering, no rebelling in their step, just grim nods and tightened grips. Each soldier knew what that meant. They were cutting themselves off. No backup, no extraction. Only the mission. As Havoc Team reached the wreckage, something shifted. Comms died instantly. Static. GPS scrambled. HUDs blinked out. "EMP?" Lyra muttered. "No," Reyes whispered. "Something else." Above them, clouds tore apart. Streaks of red fire lit the sky. Dozens of trails screamed down like falling stars, each one a plasma barrage from the Aurelian fleet. Explosions roared across the jungle, lighting trees on fire, tearing open craters, melting steel. The wreckage shook. The biotech ship responded, curling its skin inward like a wounded beast. "Cover!" Ren shouted, diving behind a jagged root structure. They weren't here for the team. They were trying to destroy the ship, which meant one thing.
The Aurelians didn't want the seed recovered. They feared it too. After the bombardment passed, ash rained down like snow. The air smelled of burnt ozone and blood. Ren looked at his ruined gear. Their rifle still worked, barely, but drones, trackers, HUDs, all fried. The jungle's our ally now, Ren muttered. They stripped down to bare gear, made ghillie suits from alien vines, dug traps with sharpened stakes and camel tarps. Mines were replaced with pressure-triggered spikes. Even Thrax helped, drawing crude maps in the dirt, pointing out predator zones and fungal hazards. Aurelians landed by the dozens. Heavy armor, plasma rifles, confident. Too confident. The first ambush was brutal. Havoc team dropped from trees like ghosts. One squad wiped in 13 seconds. No tech, just raw tactics, dirty, primal warfare. They think we're primitives, Ren whispered after. Let's prove them right. They left bodies as warnings, took gear, set more traps, let fear spread. Every time the Aurelians entered the jungle took something back. The third ambush cost them. Milo didn't scream when he went down. His body was riddled with plasma, half his torso gone before they even saw the sniper. Ren dragged him back, hands shaking. Blood soaked the vines. His last words were a whisper. Was it worth it? Ren didn't answer. The team buried Milo beneath thick roots. No markers, no words, just silence. Reality crashed in. This wasn't a mission anymore. It was survival. No clean victories, just bruises and ghosts. Lyra sat alone that night, clutching Milo's tags. She said to Ren, "He followed you because he believed. Don't make that meaningless." Ren nodded, jaw clenched. "I won't." But doubt festered. Every step forward meant another risk, and another possible death. The jungle had changed. The vines near the wreckage pulsed, shifting colors like veins beneath the skin. The ground trembled faintly. Plants began glowing brighter, moving when no one touched them. Thrax screamed in the middle of the night, his body convulsing. When he came to, he gasped, "It's waking! The seed! It knows we're here!" Ren walked to the wreck and placed a hand on the biotech hull. It was warm, breathing, and then it spoke. Not in words.
In visions, he saw Earth burning, its sky rewritten by alien flora, its people twisted into something else. Not death, replacement. He stumbled back, shaken. "The seed's alive," he said. "It's not a weapon, it's a being." And it wanted to spread. By dawn, the decision was made. "We destroy it," Ren said. Reyes looked horrified. "But what if it's intelligent? What if it's the future?" Ren's voice was low. "Then it's a future we choose not to become." They planted explosives deep in the ship's core, guided by Threx's shaky knowledge. The biotech resisted. Tendrils tried to strangle. Ports closed like muscle spasming. They fought every inch. Reyes nearly died fending off an Aurelian squad. Lyra lost an eye. Ren pressed the final detonator and whispered, "For Milo. For Earth." The wreck went up in blinding light, a scream rippling through the jungle. Not a sound, but a feeling. Something died, something angry. But it was over. Almost. As they limped away, Ren looked to the horizon. More Aurelian dropships. No turning back now. They hadn't just destroyed a weapon. They declared war. The jungle wasn't just overgrown foliage. It was alive with danger, sweat, and secrets. Thick vines clung to shattered bark. Mists hung low, masking motion. And somewhere in the shadows, Havoc team waited. Ren crouched beneath the wide leaves, mud caking his boots, heartbeat matching the quiet pulse of war around them. "Wait for it," he whispered, voice almost lost in the hum of alien drones overhead. Then boom! A pressure-activated mine, buried in the roots of a gnarled beast tree, exploded beneath an Aurelian mech, flipping it like a rag doll. From the trees above, 3 Havoc team members dropped silently, rifles blazing. Their attacks were quick, surgical, guerrilla warfare in its purest form.
They didn't fight head-on. They bled the enemy from the shadows. Tripwires, remote explosives, ambush tunnels. They turned the jungle into a weapon. The Aurelians, in gleaming exosuits and swarming hover drones, were meant to be unbeatable. But their tech meant nothing if they couldn't see their enemy. And right now, the jungle was on humanity's side. Ren tapped his comm. Next wave, hit hard, vanish fast. Even in the face of superior alien tech, it wasn't brute force that made humans dangerous. It was grit, it was unpredictability, and it was just beginning. After the last firefight, silence returned like an unwelcome fog. The ground steamed where alien metal had melted into earth. Bodies, both human and alien, lay still. Ren's face was grim as he surveyed the field. "Start scavenging," he ordered. "Nothing goes to waste." The team moved quickly. Arc batteries were pried from Aurelian suits. Damaged mech armor was stripped and reshaped into shields. Every broken part had a second life. Humanity didn't have factories here, but they had hands. They had minds. Roddy pulled a chunk of alien alloy from the wreckage. "We can reroute the charge through this, make a proximity bomb," he muttered, already planning. Beside him, Ren studied a smoking drone husk. "Hook the targeting system. We'll use it to track their movements." This was survival science. No schematics, no manuals. Just trial, error, and desperation. From the scraps of destruction, they built new weapons. Each invention was crude, but deadly. "You give us junk, we give you hell," Ren said under his breath, almost to the Aurelians. In the quiet aftermath of war, humanity's deadliest weapon wasn't in their hands. It was in their heads. Night fell like a curtain, covering the jungle in deep blue darkness. Around the flickering fire deep in the caves, Threx finally spoke. "They've used it before," the alien said, voice low and trembling. "The neural seed, it doesn't just control, it rewrites." Ren leaned forward. "Rewrites what?" Threx's single eye dimmed. "Instinct, emotion, memory. The seed doesn't issue commands, it reshapes biology. Entire species made docile. Brave warriors turned into obedient farmers. Mothers forget their children. Soldiers lay down weapons and sing lullabies." A sick chill crawled down Ren's spine. They didn't conquer through force, they erased resistance from inside the mind. On Velith Prime, millions walked into the oceans without question, programmed to believe drowning was peace. Silence. No one breathed. Ren's jaw clenched. "You're saying it turns free will into a myth?" "Yes," Thrites replied. "And Earth is next." The fire crackled. Around it, faces turned pale with realization. They weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for identity. For the right to feel fear, rage, love. It wasn't just about weapons anymore. It was about the soul. Ren sat alone atop a rocky outcrop, watching the moon's rise. His hands trembled, not from cold, but from truth. Earth wasn't in danger of being destroyed. It was in danger of being rewritten. He remembered his sister's laughter, the chaotic energy of human cities, the stubborn old man who still wrote poems in the dust of a ruined cafe. All of that, all of it, could vanish without a single shot fired. With one activation of the neural seed, Earth would become a planet of pacified husks. No resistance, no rebellion, just silence and servitude. Ren sat as Kira approached, her expression grim. "You okay?" "No, but I understand now. This isn't a war for territory. It's a war for truth, for choice." Kira said beside him, "Then we fight harder." He nodded. "Because if we lose, no one will even remember what freedom felt like." The weight of it all pressed down like a mountain, but under it, Ren's resolve burned brighter. He stood, eyes on the stars. They want to overwrite our story. We'll make sure they never get the chance. The next week was a blur of blood, ash, and names added to the wall. Each day brought another skirmish, another grave. A dozen comrades fell in the last raid. Kira nearly lost her leg. Wraith bled out calling for his mother. Ren read every casualty log. He never looked away. Roddy slammed a helmet onto the dirt. We can't keep this up. Morale was dying faster than the soldiers. The jungle didn't care. It swallowed their dead and kept moving. Still, Ren stood tall. He buried them with his own hands, gave speeches when no one wanted to hear them. But behind his eyes, even he was starting to crack. "You all right?" Kira asked one night. "No, but we don't have the luxury of falling apart." They mourned in silence, fires burning low. This wasn't the glorious rebellion they had imagined. It was a dirty, dragging war, and it had only just begun. Roddy leaned against the cave wall, shadows hiding the despair in his eyes. "This isn't working, Ren. We're bleeding for what? Half a jungle and a pile of dead friends?" Ren faced him, calm but cold. "We're fighting for Earth." Roddy's voice cracked. "And what if Earth isn't fighting for us? What if we're just delaying the inevitable?"
The others overheard, and silence followed. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Roddy just said it out loud. He wasn't angry. He was tired. Tired of seeing body bags. Tired of seeing hope fade with each day. "We should consider surrender," Roddy muttered. "At least then, we might survive." Ren didn't respond. Not yet. Because doubt wasn't betrayal. It was human. And it was real. The next morning, Ren stood before the tired, wounded remnants of his team. Smoke from the night skirmish still lingered in the trees. "I heard what Roddy said, and he's right about one thing. We're outmatched, outgunned, outnumbered." He paused, let it hang. "But they're wrong about something too. They think humanity can be programmed into silence, that if they cut deep enough, we'll stop bleeding. That if they burn enough, we'll forget who we are." He looked each of them in the eye. "Well, I've got news for them. They've got tech, we've got guts. Let's see what bleeds first." A slow murmur of agreement. Then fists raised, Kira stepped forward, nodding. Even Roddy didn't look away. Ren's words weren't just defiance. They were prophecy. And the jungle answered. The betrayal came at dawn. An explosion rocked the eastern ridge, inside their perimeter. By the time Ren reached the control center, the neural seed was gone, stolen. CCTV showed the unthinkable. Merrick, a scout they all trusted, fleeing through the underbrush with a stolen transmitter and the Raelian beacon flashing on his back. "Why?" Kira whispered. The answer came hours later, and the Raelian force landed with precision, guided directly to their heart. A firefight broke out. Half the base went up in flames. Ren chased Merrick down himself, found him hiding in a ravine, blood on his hands, guilt in his eyes. "They promised me safety," Merrick choked. "A place in the new order. I was tired of losing." Ren raised his weapon. His hand shook, but he didn't fire. "You already lost," Ren said coldly. "Not your life, your soul." He left Merrick to the jungle, and as the fires burned around them, Ren knew this war had changed. Trust was broken, lives were lost, but the mission remained. The sky split open like paper under a blade. Aurelian drop pods rained down in coordinated waves, each one a coffin for a towering war mech. The jungle canopy sizzled and burst into flame as plasma rounds carved through tree trunks. The earth trembled with the rhythmic stomps of advancing machines. In the haze of smoke and fire, the human outpost looked like a speck standing against the god's fury. Ren's team was dug in behind scorched bunkers, sweat and grime streaking their faces.
The sound of enemy drones buzzed like angry hornets, swarming above and between trees. Mechanical clunks echoed from every direction, drawing closer. The Aurelians weren't just attacking, they were erasing. "This is it," Ren muttered, peeking through a cracked visor. "They're throwing everything at us." Each second stretched like an hour. Laser turrets screamed to life, chewing through the first wave, but for every drone they took down, 3 more replaced it. Rockets hissed from the jungle floor, exploding on mechs that barely slowed. The soldiers fired blindly into the smoke, backs to one another, hearts pounding. Over the comms, fear had turned to silence. No jokes, no screams, just the grim resolve of those who knew they wouldn't see another sunrise. "We're not getting out of this," Ren said calmly, locking eyes with the squad, "but we sure as hell can make them bleed." The team scattered into positions. Shrapnel mines were buried beneath soil and debris. EMP charges were rigged to tree trunks. Snipers took to the highest ground they could find, aiming down scopes fogged by heat and adrenaline. The first mech to break through triggered a minefield that tore through its legs. It fell like a skyscraper, crushing 2 drones beneath it. The squad let out a cheer, but it was short-lived. More came. Ren leapt from the front, his rifle glowing red from heat. "Cover the left, they're flanking!" A hailstorm of plasma burst overhead as the team ducked behind shattered barriers. A young soldier, barely 18, cried out, but kept shooting. "Remember who we are," Ren shouted. "We're not machines, we're human. That means we improvise, we fight dirty, we never give up." Bullets and pride filled the air. Against all odds, they held. Deeper in the jungle, Threx sprinted with what remained of the squad. The alien defector moved with uncanny speed, guiding them toward a twisted ruin nestled under the roots of ancient trees. The neural seed. The moment they breached the clearing, Threx connected a neural interface to the seed. "I can shut it down," he gasped, "but it's not just hardware, it's aware." The moment his fingers touched the interface, his body stiffened. The seed pulsed with a blue glow. It's speaking," he whispered. "It's rewriting me." His eyes flickered. Memories, his mother, his first kill, the betrayal, flashed in and out like static. The others formed a defensive ring, blasting away at any approaching unit. "How long, Threx?" "I don't know," he screamed. "It's inside my head." Blood dripped from his nose as the seed's pulse grew louder. Time was running out. Back on the ridge, Roddy stared down at the advancing Aurelians. Their biggest walker, a behemoth of steel and hate, marched toward Threx's location. He glanced at the explosives rigged along the cliffside. "Guess this is it," he muttered. He keyed the comm. "This is Roddy. Tell my sister she was right. I should have taken that desk job." He grinned, tears in his eyes. Then he ran. The mechs locked on. Plasma screamed past him. With shaking hands, Roddy slammed the detonator. The mountain roared. Rock gave way. The cliff crumbled. The walker and half its escort plummeted, crushed by the avalanche. Roddy's body vanished in the dust. But the path was clear. Threx screamed. His mind twisted under the seed's grip. It peeled his memories like fruit, rearranged his thoughts, whispered things in his voice. "We can perfect you," it said. "No," he shouted. I am me." Images of the Aurelian conquest, of torture, experiments, flashed inside him, painted as righteous acts. He gritted his teeth, trying to hold on to something, anything. Then he remembered Wen's words. "You're one of us now." His hands shook as his thoughts turned to chaos. "Help me," he whispered. Wen saw Threx convulsing. He didn't hesitate. He pulled the backup neural link and slammed it into his own neck. The world vanished. Suddenly, he was floating. No, falling inside an ocean of data. The neural seed stood before him, a monstrous shape of shifting light and logic. "You do not belong here," it said. "I do now," Wen snarled. He pushed his thoughts forward. Memories of Earth, of chaos, of humanity, riots, love, war, sacrifice, music, fear. All of it. The AI recoiled. "You are disorder," it hissed. "Damn right." He let it in. Every heartbreak, every kiss, every death. The sound of laughter and gunfire and crying children. He gave it all. The AI screamed. The neural seed flickered. Its voice, once cold and perfect, now stuttered. Logic failing. Input contradiction. Emotion equals error. It tried to purge the data. It couldn't. Flashes of Wen's memory spun through its circuits. A child's drawing, a funeral, a mother's hug, a soldier's scream. "Incompatible," it gasped. Its form shattered. The network collapsed. The seed exploded into harmless sparks of light. The Aurelian forces, once unstoppable, began to stagger. Their neural net broke. Coordination vanished. Mechs twitched. Drones crashed. Retreat orders buzzed across the field. Ren emerged from the wreckage, gasping, eyes bloodshot. Threx was alive, barely. Across the battlefield, the impossible had happened. Humans had won. The sky that once rained fire now felt quiet. Ren stumbled from the wreckage. His legs buckled. He fell to his knees. All around him, bodies, both human and alien, littered the earth. The silence was deafening. He looked to the sky. It no longer burned. Tears cut through the ash on his face. He had won, but at what cost? Alone, broken, and barely breathing, Ren whispered, "We made them bleed." Then he collapsed. The field stretched out, scarred and twisted, a silent testament to the ferocity of the battle. The smell of burning flesh and ozone lingered in the air as the remnants of Havoc Team limped through the carnage, their steps heavy, their faces drawn with exhaustion and grief. The once vibrant jungle now lay in ruins, a graveyard of fallen warriors, both human and alien. Captain Ren stood amidst the devastation, his eyes empty, searching for something to anchor him, but all he found was the weight of loss. The survivors, himself, Sergeant Roddy, and a handful of others, moved between the bodies of their fallen comrades, too tired to mourn, too numb to celebrate. The silence that followed the battle spoke louder than any victory cry ever could. Ren glanced at Roddy, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "We did it," he said, the words hollow, his voice cracking under the weight of their meaning. Roddy didn't respond. There was nothing to say. The enemy had been defeated, but the cost had been immense. Havoc Team, once a symbol of unbreakable human will, was now a shattered remnant of its former glory. "What's left, Ren?" Roddy asked, his voice distant. "After all this, what are we supposed to do?" Ren looked around, his eyes scanning the horizon. "Survive. We survive and we carry on the fight." But even as he said it, the hollow ache in his chest grew deeper. The truth settled over them like a suffocating weight. Victory, no matter how hard won, came with a price, and that price was steep. The Aurelians retreated in stunned silence, their once proud forces uncharacteristically subdued. The roar of battle had faded, leaving only the echoes of disbelief. For the first time, they faced defeat, and the reality of it was more unnerving than anything they had ever imagined. On board their flagship, the commanders exchanged glances, unable to fully process the magnitude of what had just happened. Humanity, an insignificant species in the eyes of the Aurelian Empire, had stood against them and won. The loss was staggering. The battle had been brutal, and the unpredictability of human tactics had shattered the Aurelians' belief in their own invincibility. "It doesn't make sense," one of the officers muttered, staring at the reports, his fingers trembling. "How could they have done this? We calculated every move, predicted every outcome. This was supposed to be easy." The commander of the Aurelian fleet, once so confident in the mights of their empire, stood at the window, watching the distant stars. "What we've learned today is that the human mind is an enigma, a dangerous enigma. The ship hummed with tension as the Aurelians struggled to comprehend what they had just lost. This wasn't just a defeat, it was the first crack in their impenetrable armor. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to fight against the odds. And in that realization, the stakes of the war had shifted. Amid the wreckage of the battle, Earth intercepted a message that would reverberate across the galaxy. It wasn't a plea for help or a cry of victory. It was a simple statement. Do not engage humanity. Their irrationality is lethal. The message was a warning, but it was also a testament to the unpredictable nature of humanity. In the vast, cold expanse of space, humanity was always considered weak, impulsive, and easy to control. But now, the entire galaxy had been forced to acknowledge something undeniable. Humanity was lethal because it was unpredictable, irrational, and impossible to understand. The transmission was sent not by one species, but by a coalition of galactic powers who had grown tired of humanity's relentless defiance. The words were cold, clinical, but beneath them lay a deep fear. As the message spread, the implications were clear. The universe had just realized that humanity was no longer something to be ignored. They were a force to be reckoned with, and that fear would follow them for years to come. The defeat of the Aurelians did not just ripple through their empire, it set off a chain reaction across the stars. Species that had long been oppressed, subdued by the oppressive rule of the Aurelian Empire, found new hope. The idea that humanity had fought and won against a power that had seemed invincible inspired rebellion in the hearts of the galaxy's underdogs. On planets far from Earth, in the shadows of once mighty empires, whispers began to spread. If humanity can do it, so can we. One by one, the oppressed species rose, abandoning the suffocating rule of the Aurelians and rallying behind the hope of freedom. The Aurelian Empire, once feared across the galaxy, now faced insurrection on multiple fronts. Resistance cells popped up in every corner of their territory, fueled by the spark of human defiance. Humanity's victory had become a symbol, a beacon of hope to all those who had been silenced for too long. The galaxy had just changed. The power balance had shifted, and the tides of war had turned in favor of the oppressed. Ren survived, but the cost had been more than physical. His body, once a symbol of human strength, was now a shattered vessel, scarred by the brutalities of war. His legs no longer obeyed him, and his arms shook with the effort of every movement. But it wasn't just his body that was broken. His soul had fractured too. He sat in the med bay, staring out the window at the stars, a drink clutched in his hand. The world outside was beautiful, but it felt distant, too far away to touch. He couldn't escape the memories of the battle, the faces of those he had lost, the weight of each decision that had led them here. Why didn't I die with them? He whispered to himself, his voice barely audible. His mind swirled with self-loathing. What's the point of surviving if it costs so much? His comrades had sacrificed everything. And now, here he was, left behind. A living monument to the price of war. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw their faces, lost friends, fallen comrades, and the guilt gnawed at him. Ren had been a symbol of human will, but now he was just a broken man, too tired to fight, but too alive to escape the memories. The offer came from High Command, a recognition of his bravery, his leadership. "We want you to lead," the Admiral said. "You've proven yourself beyond doubt. Humanity needs you." Ren's response was simple. Commands for people with something left to lose. The words hung in the air like a weight. The Admiral's gaze faltered for a moment before he nodded in understanding. Ren had seen what leadership truly cost. He had watched his team die, each loss a wound that would never fully heal. And now the idea of leading others, sending them into battle, was something he couldn't bear. Ren refused the offer. He would not become the man they wanted him to be. He would remain a soldier, a shadow of what he had once been, haunted by the choices that he had made. "I've lost everything," he said softly. and that's why I can't lead. I've got nothing left to give." It was the final sign of his disillusionment with the war, with the systems of power that had driven it. Ren had paid the price, and now he chose to walk away from the very thing that had once defined him. The war was over, but its aftermath stretched far beyond the battlefield. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, but the cost had been steep. The survivors of Havoc Team, broken but resolute, faced the daunting task of rebuilding, not just their bodies, but their identities. Earth was no longer a passive observer in galactic affairs. They were a symbol of defiance, a beacon of resistance in the darkness. But with this new role came a heavy burden. The scars of the war would never fully fade. The losses, the pain, and the moral dilemmas of survival would stay with them forever. Ren, now a living reminder of the cost of resistance, gazed out at the stars once more. There was no celebration, no grand victory parade, just a quiet, humbling knowledge that humanity had won. But at what cost? And as the first steps of rebuilding began, one thing became clear. Earth had changed. The galaxy had changed. And in the depths of space, other species were rising, inspired by humanity's stand. The resistance had sparked a fire that would burn across the stars, and the echoes of humanity's defiance would be heard for generations to come. The streets of Earth's capital are quiet. In the aftermath of the war, the once bustling city now feels like a monument to grief. People gather in hushed groups, some carrying flowers, others just standing, lost in thought. In the center of the square stands the statue, tall, imposing, and made of dark stone. It isn't of Ren, the symbol of humanity's defiance, but of Roddy, the soldier who sacrificed everything. The figure is not heroic in the traditional sense. It doesn't show a warrior in a mighty pose, but one kneeling, head bowed, with a rifle resting at his side, a moment of human frailty frozen in time. The inscription beneath the statue reads simply, "They had the tech, we had the guts." It's a reminder to everyone, a symbol of the true power that won the day, not technology, but the unwavering spirit of humanity. The words etched in stone are more than just an inscription. They are a statement. They had the tech, we had the guts. Simple, profound. And in many ways, they encapsulate everything humanity fought for. The Aurelians, with their advanced technology and seemingly unstoppable empire, thought they had the upper hand. But what they didn't account for was humanity's heart, our courage, our unpredictability, our refusal to back down when everything was lost. These words are more than just a tribute. They are a testament to everything humanity stood for in the darkest of times. In the end, it was never about matching the enemy's power. It was about fighting with everything we had. Ren stands before the statue, his weathered face etched with exhaustion. The wounds from the battle still haunt him, but it is the weight of survival that weighs most heavily on him. He gazes at Roddy's likeness, the hollow ache of loss settling deep in his chest. His eyes drift to the inscription and a sense of peace washes over him, though fleeting. Roddy's sacrifice and the sacrifice of so many others had been the price of victory. Ren doesn't speak. His hands, still shaking from the aftermath of war, rests on the cold stone. No words are needed. In this moment, the silence is louder than any battle cry. A young recruit approaches, his face filled with uncertainty. He stands next to Ren, his eyes drifting from the statue to the faces of those around him. The world has changed, but the future is still a blur. Do you think we'll win the war? The question hangs in the air, filled with fear, hope, and the weight of countless unanswered thoughts. Ren turns to the recruit, studying him for a moment. The silence stretches. The weight of the war's aftermath bears down on them both. The recruit is searching for something, a glimmer of hope, a sign that things will get better. Ren looks at him, his voice calm, steady, but with an edge of quiet strength. He says softly, his eyes drifting back to the statue. We already did. We made them bleed. The recruit blinks, unsure of what to make of Ren's answer. But there's a grin on Ren's face now. Small, almost imperceptible, but enough to stir something inside the recruit. We already did, Ren repeats, a twinkle in his eyes. We made them bleed. The words echo louder than the battles, louder than the war machines. It wasn't about defeating the Aurelians in the traditional sense, it was about sending a message. They had underestimated humanity, thinking that technology and sheer numbers could crush them. But they didn't count on human unpredictability, on human heart, on human guts. The war was far from over, but humanity had already proven something fundamental, that even the greatest empire in the galaxy could bleed, that their arrogance and cold logic would never see the spirit of humanity coming. As the camera pulls away from the statue, Ren, and the recruit, the screen fades to black. The echoes of victory, both sweet and bitter, ring in the hearts of humanity. The war machines may have bled, but the heart of humanity remains unbroken. The galaxy will never forget what humanity did, how they fought not with technology, but with something far stronger, their will to survive, their determination, and their refusal to be defeated. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: humanity's spirit will never be extinguished.